Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to change the transmission fluid on a Toyota Sequoia or Tundra. This is a 2010 high mileage Sequoia. If you have this kind of car with a transmission coolant, you need to cut it off. You just need to find out the knob on the passenger side of the transmission and put in the pin. Then you can slide in the oil pan and drain the transmission fluid. The bolt on the oil pan is 14 mm. It's pretty easy to lose it. Before draining the transmission fluid, you better find out how to fill up the transmission fluid. Now let's drain the fluid. If the weather is pretty cold, you can warm up the car a little bit, so the viscosity of the transmission fluid becomes a little bit thinner. This is the transmission fluid after 250,000 mileage. It doesn't seem too bad. To fill up the transmission fluid, you need a 24 mm socket. This 24 mm bolt is pretty shallow and it's pretty easy to strip it, so there might be a problem. The transmission fluid is almost drained fully. Now we just need to put back this bolt. I prefer to tighten it with bare hand. You don't really need to apply a really high torque here. Wipe up this area so that you can find out whether you have a leakage here or not. Next step is to put back the transmission fluid into an empty oil jug so that you can find out how much has drained up. Then we can fill up a little bit more than this amount. In this case, you can slightly overfill the transmission fluid so that you can tune the level of the fluid. Speaking of this 24 mm fill up drain plug, I used 15/16 socket. It's pretty hard to loosen this oil plug, and I used the oil tool to knock it loose. Now to fill in the transmission fluid, you can use a pressure applied special tool to push it in, and you can also use a pretty long soft tube and add the transmission fluid from the top. I used a tape to cover the tip so that you don't get contaminations in the tube. I just fished this through a engine bay and put this end into the filling hole. Then use the gravity to add in 4 gallons of transmission fluid. After filling this transmission fluid, we need to check the fluid level. Now you need to get this transmission fluid to the right temperature. In order to do that, you can get this car into the transmission fluid mode. I use the wire to jump the pin on the OBD2 port. Then turn on the key to the accessory on position. You'll find out all the lights are blinking. This is normal. start up the engine. Then, while pressing the brake, change the gear from the reverse to the drive, and back to reverse, back to drive, and then get into the sport gear. Then go to the 6th gear and then go back to 1, go to 6, go to 1, cycle between drive and neutral, and then you will see the D flashing. Now you can put in the park and take off this jump wire. Now the temperature of the transmission fluid is low, so the light on D is off. If the temperature get back to the working temperature, then you will see the D lights up. Just need to wait. Depending on your local temperature, this time may be different. Here is a little bit cold, and it took about 10 minutes, and then I see the D lights up. Now you can get beneath the car and lose the bolt for the transmission level. This plug uses 5mm inner 6-sided to lose it, and you can't be wrong. You just need to drain the transmission fluid until you see it's dripping in a pretty thin line. Now you have already set the transmission fluid at the correct level. You need to see whether the D light is still on. If you see the D light start blinking, then the transmission fluid is a little bit too hot and you need to redo it. Now all you need to do is to reconnect the transmission coolant, and you just need to lose this pin, and that's it. I hope this is helpful for you. If it is, please subscribe, leave a like and comment, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Have fun.